Welcome to the Rising Leader Podcast. I'm your host, Mark J. Silverman. I'm feeling empty and blank inside, and it's time for me to do a solo podcast. So the only thing I have for you is to be raw and vulnerable and real and see if we press publish on this episode to see if it's useful for you. So last week, we married off my youngest son. I think you know, if you listen long enough, that my youngest son is a rabbi. So he's very, very steeped in the Hasidic Jewish tradition, and his courtship and his engagement and his marriage happened quite fast in a matter of a few months. And it was a big, elaborate spiritual wedding, and it took everything we had to pull this off in the fashion that was in the traditional Hasidic way. And it was a lot, and it was beautiful, and it was amazing. And my son and his new wife are a shockingly great team. They just light each other up, and they complement each other. And even though in my head I was a little, like, this is a little fast, my heart was like, this is right, this is good. So I'm great. It was a joyous occasion. A few days later, my older son, got engaged. He set up a very romantic way of getting engaged to his girlfriend, now fiance. And just a few days after the wedding, we had a surprise engagement party when they came back from the proposal at my house. It was joyous. It was amazing. And my rabbi son and his wife were able to be here for a short time in their travels, and it was just magical. And I woke up Monday morning, and I was tired, very tired, more tired than I'm used to being. But it wasn't an exhaustion like I hadn't gotten any sleep or anything like that. And I felt just kind of empty and without what's the word I'm looking for? Motivation. I didn't feel like I had any zhuzh in my life, as my friend Katie Nelson would say, zhuzh. And I didn't understand what was happening. And I just went about my business and did what I did on Monday morning. Gave myself a little break because, after intense stuff, there's a little letdown, and I was okay. And I was just thinking about it and wondering, what could be happening. And I went through the list of things. So you just married off your son. It was a big party. It was amazing. It was a lot of travel. Then you just married, you got your other son engaged. It's a lot. Maybe you're just dopamine depleted. Maybe it's just not a lot of dopamine. I said, okay, that's good. Maybe you're just tired. That's a lot. And in some meditation and in some journaling, what I realized was that this was the end of a journey for me. So again, got to remember my background. My background was I was an alcoholic, a drunk, a mess up. I was homeless, and pretty much up until my late 20s, early 30s, really wasn't making much of my life. So when I had children, I was terrified every day of screwing that up. I was so scared of financially screwing up, of emotionally screwing up, of screwing up my marriage, which did happen. We did get divorced. But through it all, the commitment to being a parent brought both my ex-wife and I through. Wrote that in the newsletter that's going out tomorrow. But so for 28 years, my oldest son is 28 years old. For 28 years, I've been holding my breath to make sure that I didn't F this up, that I didn't screw up before the kids were up out of the house and into their lives. And I realized that they're both launched. They both have their person. They both have their lives and their paths. And we did it. We did our part in raising these young men. And I feel empty. I feel happy. I actually do feel happy, but I feel a little empty. And I said to a friend of mine, now would be a great day to retire. Like, I just feel like must be what retirement feels like, because I just feel like nothing's happening. And as a couple of days have gone by and really kind of paying attention to this and being fascinated by the shift in my being after these events, a few more things are dawning on me. I was just in a group call with a bunch of folks who have left careers where they had titles and influence and people calling them, and travel and all the things that come with, these high powered greedy jobs, right? uh, and they either got fired, and are starting something for their own, or they chose on their own to leave to create something of their own. And I was listening to all of these pretty mature folk, and a few of them were talking about how without their title, without their job, without that place to go every day, who are they? And that's a very universal thing. Who am I if I'm not my job? Who am I if I'm not raising these boys? Who am I if I'm not, doing certain things that I have defined myself as? And the thing that they were learning, and which is the scariest thing, is they now have a blank page. What do they want to create? What's next for them? They're not who they were. Who are they going to be? And I didn't expect it, on Monday morning. I didn't expect that I had so much of my psyche and identity wrapped up in making sure these young men were okay. Because I'm busy. I'm writing books. I have podcasts. I'm doing things in my life. I have my own relationships, but I didn't realize that that was such a big part of it. And when I was listening to these people speak about their careers, same thing. And that got me to thinking about, again, I'm prepared for this. Like, I have a full life. My kids can go off and do what they want, and I am not bored. I got plenty to do. But if you're not prepared for it, like some of the people on the call that we were on, it can be absolutely terrifying to find out, that you're not your title, that your phone doesn't ring. Just be, your phone rang mostly because it was your title, and people needed something from that title, and that you have to create yourself all over again. I have a blank page today. I have a blank page this week. What do I want to create next? Where do I want to go? And my career is already going, but it just feels new. Uh, the other thing that has me think about is taking stock. Uh, so most of us are on, when I first got into coaching, my coach Rich Litvin showed me a graph, and the graph was a line that steadily kind of almost came off the grid, just a little bit up off the bottom, but it was steady, and it was a kind of a low trajectory. And then there was another line that slowly went up, and then all of a sudden exponentially went up. And he called that the default life versus the created life. Right? There's a default life where we go to work every day. We don't even think about why we're going to work. We don't think about who we are going to work. We just know we need to go to work, pay the bills, take care of the family, right? And then next thing you know, you're 60, 70 years old, and you're like, what the hell happened? Or sometimes in your 30s and 40s, you're like, am I in the right place? Because you haven't taken stock. So that's the default life. The created life is deliberately choosing where you are and then choosing where you want to go. So if you're in a job where it's stressful and you're like, what am I doing here? Do we even make a difference in the world? I'd rather be, working at a nonprofit and helping people or doing something. Uh, Take stock. Stop. What are you doing for a living? Why are you showing up every day? Why do you get in your car? Why do you turn on the computer? Why do you turn on your camera? Why do you talk to people? Why do you do what you do? And don't settle for the surface. Oh, I need to pay the bills. Or, oh, well, this is, I studied finance and this was the natural trajectory. This is the only thing I know how to do. Go a little bit deeper. Go deeper to, your why. And your why is always going to be a surprise. Your why will start out, I want to make a paycheck. I like nice things. This is what I'm good at. And then go deeper and deeper and deeper. What you may find, is that you're, again, that the cliche, the you're climbing a ladder that's against the wrong wall. Terrifying. And we can talk about that. You don't have to change your job. It's just you start to think about, how do I want to change this trajectory? If my ladder is on the wrong wall, what do I want to do with it? But if you're just kind of complaining and you're kind of whiny because, your job is stressful, which all of us get into, uh, That's where you take stock and you really kind of look at, where is your job serving you? You chose it for a reason. You're there for a reason. It could be security. It could be prestige. It could be, uh, you just didn't want to think about anything, and this was a good gig. It's all those are good things. Like, take stock of why you're there, and then here's the kicker: choose it. Choose why you're there. Don't just go to work every day because you have to. Go to work every day because you want to. You may not want to do that job. In Only Tens, we talk about that. You may not want to do your job, but you want health benefits and you want to take care of your kids, and you want that payout of stock options or your carry or interest or whatever at the end. Um, but be clear that you're not a victim of any of this and that you're choosing it. And then after you do that, I want you to take a little more time uh, and figure out who you are in this job. Who you are. Who are you showing up? Who are you bringing to your family? Who are you bringing to your interactions? Who are you bringing to this title that you have? Because the title that you have is what you do. Who you bring to that is who you are. And here's the kicker also, is who you are is fungible. It's made up, right? You're just a collection of choices, decisions, conditioning, things that happened, and all that stuff. And that came to you today. Everything that happened from a moment ago all the way to maybe even lifetimes, who knows? And you can change that. I've changed several times. And figure out, all right, if I don't like my job, who am I being at my job? If I'm finding my job really stressful, who am I being and who do I need to be to address that? Here's now we'll take this all the way back to this identity thing. Who I was as a father, and again, I wrote this in the newsletter, is I don't know that Mark would have been a good father. I don't, Mark didn't have a lot of skills. Mark didn't have a lot of emotional maturity. Mark had a commitment to being a good father. I made a decision to be the best father I could possibly be, and I served that vision of myself. And I showed up every day. How would I show up if I was the best father in the world? How would I show up if I was the father these young men need? And I did that every time I had an interaction with my son. And there were times when I wanted to be reactive, or I wanted to put them down, or I wanted to kick their ass in a way that wasn't healthy. And that commitment kicked in of who I was. So now that my sons are launching, I still have who I am. I still have that, like, I have a sense of self that I can bring to the next thing, to whatever it is I focus on. So if God forbid you lose your job, God forbid something happens, uh, now you're more in touch with who you've created yourself to be, and the job is where you bring that to. That's a much more sustainable way of being. So pay attention to, again, let's recap. Why are you showing up? What's the reason you're there? There's always a reason you're there. Uh, and then choose to be there. Make an active choice. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to go to work. You don't have to pay your bills. You don't even have to feed your children. You want healthy children, feed your children. But you don't have to feed your children. You don't have to do anything. Choose everything that you do. And then take a step even further back. Who are you being when you choose to do those things? It's a game changer in the energy. It just releases so much energy in life. So this week I'm contemplating, who do I want to be in this next chapter? It's it's a very clear next chapter. Who do I want to be? What do I want to bring to the world? What do I want to bring to myself, my relationships, my clients? That's what I'm going to be focused on. Is, wow, I have a blank canvas all over again. I can reinvent myself. I can double down on what I'm doing. I can do anything. It's my choice to create who I want to be, and then what do I want to do with those things. Hope this is interesting and helpful. It's what I got for this week. I love you so much. Have a great rest of the day.